Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So on the 3rd of March this year, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, announced the UK budget for 2021. So I'm going to go through exactly what was revealed in that budget and how it's going to impact you in the coming years. First, and rather predictably, the main focus of the budget is the coronavirus pandemic. £1.65 billion has been pledged to ensure that the rollout of the vaccine continues to go smoothly. I really hope it does, because my goodness am I bored of lockdowns. £28 million has also been pledged to ensure that we can develop vaccines against the new strains of the pandemic that are arising. These should be significantly quicker than the previous vaccine that we developed, so hopefully the turnaround time on these isn't too long and we can vaccinate against those just as quickly as we have the others. A further £22 million has also been invested into researching the viability of mixing different vaccines from different manufacturers to see if some cocktail of vaccines produces a more beneficial result to get us out of this pandemic sooner. So all of this money is spent in a good way. It's a positive pledge to try and get us out of the coronavirus pandemic as soon as possible. On top of this, the furlough scheme has also been extended to September of 2021. Now, there's some minor modifications. For example, companies wishing to take part in the furlough scheme will now have to pay a minimum of 10% of the 80% of the government contributed wages. But all in all, that's a good thing, because it ensures that people aren't losing their jobs and ending up with no income whatsoever to rely on. And then finally, on the coronavirus front, the self-employed income support scheme has been renewed for a 4th and a 5th payment. So the 4th payment will cover February to April 2021 and will be paid of 80% of the value of profits up to £7,500 averaged over the last 3 months. And then the 5th payment will again mimic this same payment scheme, but only for those who have seen decreases in turnover of 30%. For everyone else who's seen less than a 30% decrease, they can only claim up to 30% of that same £7,500 limit. So next up, Rishi Sunak is protecting jobs and increasing income. The national living wage for those over the age of 23 is set to see a 2.2% increase, which will take it up to £8.91 per hour. This is equivalent to an in-pocket gain of roughly £345 per year for those living on the national living wage. In addition to this, the top-up to those on universal credit of £20 per week has also been extended to September. However, it has been noted that this will be reduced or removed come September, and so people should be prepared to have that extra money disappear in September. And those claiming tax credits will also receive exactly the same benefit top-up of £20 per week, except it will be paid off as a one-off payment of £500. And finally, in search of increasing jobs, the government has now launched a new grant scheme which they hope will foster 40,000 new apprenticeship schemes in the UK. They've offered to pay companies £3,000 for each new apprentice that they take on. So hopefully this will increase the job market from the bottom up. We'll see more positions open for apprentices, and in turn a rebound of the job market for everybody else. Next, we have the changes to taxes and the cost of living. So many people will be relieved to hear that tax rates are not rising. However, this is kind of a double-edged sword, because at the same time, Rishi Sunak also announced that tax thresholds will be frozen for 5 years from April 2021. Now, this may sound like it doesn't make that much difference, but I'm going to break down exactly how much this change in tax threshold might cost you. So the tax threshold is currently set at £12,500 for the 20% tax rate and £50,000 for the 40% tax rate. These will be rising respectively to £12,570 for the lower tax rate and £50,300 for the higher tax rate. But these will then be frozen for 5 years from April. So how will this impact you? Well, let's take a theoretical scenario where you're earning £30,000 per year right now. So your current tax threshold is £12,500, which means that you're paying tax on everything over the value of £17,500. This works out to approximately £291.66 per month. But come April, with the new tax threshold increase, the final increase for 5 years, your tax bill will in fact shrink to around £290 per month. This sounds great, but remember, for the next 5 years, any pay increase that you get, you will then be being taxed more. So say, for example, you get a 2.5% tax increase in line with inflation to £30,750 per year. Well, this means that the tax that you pay in the 20% tax bracket is now £303 per month. So this is already greater than the original £291 per month that you were paying before the tax freeze. But then there's also the issue of this compounding over 5 years. So I'll put the full calculations on the screen now. But if you skip forward to the final year of the tax freeze in 2026, if you've had a pay increase in rise with inflation each year of roughly 2 to 2.5%, then even though you don't have any more buying power, the tax that you're paying is now almost £360 per month, whereas in 2021 when we started, it was only £291 per month. This means that although you have no extra buying power because your raises have only been in line with inflation, you're an extra £65 per month out of pocket. And this issue is only compounded if your pay increase is greater than inflation or if you're in the higher tax bracket. So even though the actual percentage of tax that we pay as income tax has not increased, this is still essentially an increase in the tax bill that everyone will have to pay for the next 5 years. And in fact, government official forecasters have worked out that this means that 1.3 million people will end up paying more tax, and that 1 million people will end up in the higher tax rate that they may not have done before. This will generate approximately £20 billion over 5 years for the UK government. And similarly, the tax thresholds for inheritance, pensions and capital gains will also be frozen. So those inheriting money, contributing to their pension or earning from capital gains will also be likely to see an increase in their tax bill over the next 5 years. And finally, Rishi Sunak is trying to drive up the housing market. So the first step to increase the housing market is to extend the relief of stamp duty that has currently been in place until April. So up until June, you will now be exempt from the 2 to 12% stamp duty that you would pay on any property for the first £500,000 of the value of the property. While this is of course a great thing because it means those buying properties will save a lot of money, you also have to remember that this may slow things down again. People were trying to push through the purchases of properties ahead of the reintroduction of the stamp duty in April. However, now that they have an extended deadline of June, you may see people take their foot off the gas when it comes to the sale and purchase of properties. So you may be in it for the long haul once again. This holiday of the stamp duty will then be extended to September for the first £250,000 before returning to the original £125,000 that it was before the coronavirus pandemic from September onwards. And additionally, an extra benefit for first-time buyers and buyers alike is the return of the 5% deposit scheme, up to the value of £600,000. This means that people can get into and start looking at the property ladder in a way that they couldn't before, because they don't need to save up anywhere near as much for a deposit. So hopefully both of these things will help grow the housing market in the UK, and might even help young people like myself get onto the property ladder at an earlier stage than we thought possible. So that's all of my key takings from the budget announcement. If you spotted anything that I missed, please let me know down in the comment section. Hit the like button and subscribe if you are new around here, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.